Right, troops, I don't know what's happened. For some reason, I've actually managed to do the races out of order. I can't even remember what the last race was. Was it France with Oscar Piastri? But yeah, I forgot to include Austria, so we're actually going back in time to where Ferrari actually had Carlos Sainz in the team. Yes, a bit of a mess on my point, but you know what? It's still epic content. You can't complain with. We're still trying to produce upgrades for this car, but you know, never really talked about the results that we had in previous races in the last episode, so you never know. This could be a Ferrari 1-2, then we just sack Carlos Sainz for the crack it.
Thank you for joining us as we proceed to qualifying and the fight for pole begins. While everyone will be talking about the battle for pole, there is still so much to be contested here today. Qualifying presents a tremendous opportunity for all 10 constructors and their drivers, as a strong performance now will put them in good stead for tomorrow's race.
As for qualifying though, Sainz squeezed through, but Leclerc's out in 18th, man. Only faster than the two Williams. That is just not good. I mean, the good news is with light rain scheduled for Sunday, so the race shall be interesting, but it's very weird actually, because it just seems like it rains every year in Austria. And then look at that, Carlos Sainz in 15th. I mean, the slowest track, well, the quickest track on the calendar, we're 1.2 seconds off the leading cars. Not good, but here we go. We've got a Red Bull, for a Mercedes, for a McLaren, from a Red Bull, from a McLaren, from an Alfa Romeo. Danny Rick doing really well. Hamilton, Alonso, 11th, 12th, not good for them, but 15th and 18th for Ferrari. It's nothing short of disgraceful if we're being honest, but we've got Max Verstappen leading the charge up the hill. The rain just looks like it's not really ever going to go away. It looks like it's going to be a constant threat throughout the race. There is points where it looks like it's going to get dry. I mean, towards the end of the race, it looks like it could potentially get dry. And we just need to capitalise on our pit stops. We need to absolutely time it right. But as for the action on the track, there's not really an awful lot happening. Leclerc's not even worried about the cars. He's more worried about the strategy, because we know how bad Ferrari can truly be. But Verstappen leads Bottas, Gasly, Norris, Perez, Ocon, Ricardo, Russell, Vettel, Albon, Hamilton, Stroll, Alonso, Magnussen, Sainz, Zhou, Schumacher, Leclerc, and then both Williamses. And we know DRS activated. You do just kind of get stuck in trains at this point. And as we fast forward a wee bit, there's not an awful lot happening. Of course, in these conditions, you can't expect crashes and all that good stuff, but we're 3 laps in, there's not an awful lot happening. I mean, there's already a gap forming between Carlos Sainz and Guan Yu Zhou. I mean, 1.3 to him. Like, what is going on there for Ferrari, man? We managed to close a wee bit there, but look at Leclerc, man. He's even 1.1 behind Schumacher. But Carlos Sainz, we've turned the engine up. He's actually set the fastest lap of the race. It's a shame we couldn't run in that mode for the entire race, and then maybe, just maybe, we could actually take the fight to the top running teams. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. We're about 7 laps in now. Perez has got the fastest lap of the track. It's actually went under the wet thing, so it's back up to being wet, but now there's a VSC, and maybe that's caught a few people out. We've got with front wing debris at the last corner. It looks like Sergio Perez is crashed, but who's he crashed with? The order's completely mixed up here. We've got McLaren's going slow. Who knows what's happened? So let's see. We've got a replay. We've got the leaders essentially. We've got a McLaren who's he's ran wide. He's come on. He's clipped Perez, and Perez went straight on into the barricade. An absolutely insane crash. The VSC, so could not just come out a wee bit before, could have pit it for fresh inters, but then again, like, these inters are in pretty much great condition. You couldn't really do too much about them. But Perez comes out, it's going to be a hard race for him as the track is continually to dry up here. We've got action all over the track, 27 laps in. We've got an instant replay. Carlos Sainz makes an overtake and then just drops it in the exit. Don't understand how he actually even dropped that, but you know what, he did, and that's sort of reason why you get rid of people. But we're still on the same set of inters here on lap 53. Bottas leads for Verstappen, Norris, Ocon, Russell, Ricardo, Stroll, Alonso, Hamilton, Vettel, and then Charles Leclerc. But I mean, the gaps are absolutely fucking massive at this stage. We need a safety car to punch us up, and hopefully we can fucking somehow land on a fresh set of tyres compared to everyone else. But if you look at the track, man, it just looks like it's drying up all ever so slightly, and hopefully that can really benefit us. But we're just going to have to fucking push Carlos Sainz. He's actually a lap down, which is a disgrace. He's actually behind Bottas, Verstappen and Norris on track. So even if he does and can set the fastest lap, he's just going to be stuck behind all these clampets and not really able to do anything that we need him to do, which ain't good. But with about 14 laps to go, we can't need a miracle at this stage of the Grand Prix. Bottas still leads for Max Verstappen. but it's not looking good. We've got a yellow in sector 1, cars just constantly flying off the track in these conditions, but we're back up to like wet conditions. But moving on to about lap 68, 67, the track is drying. Now, with a few little laps to go, people are pitting, but the rain could come back down. Who's stayed out? Bottas leads for Verstappen and Norris. We've kept out Carlos Sainz. Not everyone else has pitted. But now by lap 69, it seems like the only driver not to pit is Carlos Sainz, and it's not even like we're in a points paying position here. We've just risked it for a biscuit. Hopefully he can cause a bit of drama, but you know, he's got a decent sized gap over Leclerc, but the car's just not going to be able to stick to the track. Albon is in the DRS of Charles Leclerc. He's looking for it, but it's not happening. But Carlos Sainz is doing a pretty decent job of hanging on until he did, and then Albon and Leclerc are through, but he's running wide at every corner. The tyres just are not lasting for me. Look at the drive he gets out of corners, man. Fucking hell. They're just non-existent. And now, Richard the Dog, last pass Carlos Sainz. Not good. Mick Schumacher as well. Just absolutely, I mean, Sainz has done it. Verstappen's won for Bottas, Norris, Ricardo, Ocon, Russell, Stroll, Alonso, Hamilton, Gasly. So yeah, disappointing races for Gasly and Sergio Perez, but no more disappointing than for Ferrari, man. I mean, what even sort of reaction is that? I don't know. There is the standings. And yeah, guys, back to the reality where Carlos Sainz is out and Piastri's in, baby.